Hey, welcome back to Scar Bears. I'm Chris DT Gordon. It's so great to have you here. I'm here with my new friend, Sarah Klein. How are you, Sarah?
I'm doing well, thank you.
That's great. And you are my first guest from the Middle East. Where are you talking with me from?
I'm from the southern part of Israel in a town called Beersheba.
And how big is that town? Just wondering.
Um, it's pretty big. It's about the size of, let's see, Beersheba. It's about the size of Long Island.
Oh, wow.
No. What am I saying? That's almost all of Israel. No, it's about half the. It's a pretty big town.
Okay.
I mean the whole of Israel has 6 million.
Okay.
So I would say it's like I'm not sure what the population is, but it's one of the bigger cities in Israel.
Yeah. And,
It's
and
the only big city in the south.
okay. All right. So, and I asked because my geography in that area is not very strong, and I just like to learn about new places. And so,
We know
uh,
in the Bible where Abraham goes because God told him to go from his parents' house to
mhm.
go to Israel.
Yes.
Well, he was told to go to Beersheba. This
Oh,
is
wow.
where
Okay.
this is where Abraham came from.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Cool. And so, we are well connected in our experience with necrotizing fasciitis, which I'm going to refer to from now on as NF, just for brevity reasons. How did you become connected with NF, if we can label it that, connected
Connected.
to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of connected itself to me. um, I was 100% healthy with four small children at the house, ages 1.5 to 7. And I was thinking about the possibility of another pregnancy. And I had a small hernia in the groin area. So, and the hernias hurt during the pregnancies. So I told my husband, let me go fix that. And then we can think about maybe doing another pregnancy.
Hmm.
And from that surgery, I got NF. It
Mm.
was it was 4 days after the hernia surgery that I got an infection, and it led to NF, and it led to me going into a coma and having, being on a respirator and the whole thing.
How long were you in a coma for?
8 days in total.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
slightly more than mine.
yeah.
And so, were you aware of the situation when you had gone into a coma?
No,
What had gone on? Okay.
no, no. They were taking me for an exploratory surgery. They thought I might have something wrong with my women's parts, maybe an ectopic pregnancy. They had no idea what was wrong, even though I had just had this inguinal hernia surgery.
Hmm.
They had no idea where the pain was coming from. They couldn't see anything on the outside, and my blood tests were actually pretty good. So they were going to do an exploratory surgery to find out why I'm in so much pain that I needed tons of morphine and morphine.
Hmm.
So it was in the exploratory surgery that they found the NF, and that I crashed on the table. And then they did a debridement, which is taking out the dead tissue that the NF causes.
Hmm.
And until I woke up from the coma, I didn't know what had happened. All I knew was I went down for the exploratory surgery.
And so, when you woke up from your coma, you know, can you run me through what you were thinking, what you were feeling, how your husband was reacting?
Yeah, well, when I woke up from the coma, my husband was right by my side, and he was praying psalms. He was there right by my side,
Hmm.
and in fact, he was so into the praying that he didn't notice I had woken up because I couldn't talk. I couldn't move. I was still under anesthesia.
Mm.
Um, so the nurse said, "Hey, look at your wife," you know. And he's like, "Oh my God." And
Yeah.
you know, and then I was just in so much shock. I couldn't talk, I couldn't move my body, I had no idea what was going wrong. I had no idea what happened since the exploratory surgery.
Mm.
I didn't know, you know, a week had gone by.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. When you realize that from the
Yeah,
time you go under to the time you wake up, the world has gone along its merry own way, and you're just catching up now.
that's right. That's right. It was very shocking, and I didn't know for a few more days after that. I still didn't know the extent of the damage that, you know, that was done by the NF.
Mm.
And you know, we'll talk about that, I guess, with the scars. But it took a while for my husband and the doctors to break it to me about what are all those bandages down there on my abdomen?
Mhm.
Why am I all bandaged up, and what happened?
Yeah, and so I guess maybe this is a great segue to talk about that. You know, what was the extent of the NF?
It was pretty extensive. It was in the end, it was my, oops, let me turn my phone off. It was my upper leg, upper thigh, and lower left abdomen area. That all the fascia and skin and some muscle was taken by the NF, and it left this big hole,
Mm.
just a big hole in the middle of my body, upper thigh and lower belly.
And so,
So yeah, I mean, I didn't see that big hole for a while. It took a while for me to realize what was going on and to understand what this infection was.
mhm.
And then it took this one nurse to force me to look at it.
Wow. That yeah, sometimes coming to grips with your reality is a struggle.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
mean, I
so,
felt like the first time I looked at it, I felt like those, you know, those meat markets that hang up the pieces of steak or
mhm,
hang up the meat in the windows.
yeah,
It's very European to do that. I don't know if you've seen that kind of thing. But
some places here in the United States do. Yeah.
yeah, so I felt like I was a piece of meat in a butcher.
Oh
Like
wow.
I felt like that's what I was looking at.
And so, what was your recovery consisting of at that time?
Um, Lots of antibiotics, a feeding tube in my up through my nose,
Mhm.
and I basically had about 2 weeks that way of packing the wound with a lot of packing and whatever they did there. And then 2 weeks after that, like I was in the hospital with this condition, you know, with this big hole in my gut for 2 weeks. And then they did a skin grafting surgery, which is taking skin from my right thigh
Mhm.
and putting it on my left thigh and my lower belly.
Mm.
And it was a very hard surgery because it's exactly where my leg bends.
Oh wow.
So that was a very complicated skin graft surgery.
Now, did they
And, you
use
know,
the as I call it, a souped up cheese grater
yeah,
on your body and run it across?
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. We used to call it, we had names for it. We had, when it was a big hole, we called it gapey.
Nice.
And then after the skin graft surgery, we called my right leg, the donor skin. We called the right leg scrapey.
You know, it's it does help deal with the situation when you can joke about it and have some humor about it. You know,
Yeah,
on my right
yeah,
arm, they had to take a flap of skin from my left thigh and put it on my right hand. And I
right.
tell people, it's since it's my thigh on my hand, I call it my thand. And so, you know, that, and it also, I mean, it really is something small, but actually it helps humanize the situation. And you know, it's a coping mechanism. And so
Yes,
it's great that you have that coping mechanism of gapey
yes.
and scrapey.
Well, and
um
then later on, about 8 months later on, I had cellulitis in the same area.
mm,
And like the infection itself didn't last very long. It lasted, what a cellulitis infection will last, around 2 weeks. And I had IV antibiotics and everything, but it left a mark. It left a mark where the infection of the cellulitis was. It left the skin kind of a little bit swollen and a little bit red, but it wasn't infected anymore. So we called that shapy. We had gapy, scrapey, and shapy.
I feel that there is a children's book here that needs to be written. That would be kind of funny.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when about did this take place, Sarah?
2007, May.
2007. Okay. So well over a decade.
13 years ago. Yep.
Yeah. And so how long did your recovery take from the time that you had woken up and they started doing skin graft surgeries?
How long did recovery take? Let's see, what time is it? Took a really long time. I got home a week after the skin graft. So all in all, I was a little less than a month in the hospital.
Okay.
And my whole life had turned upside down in that time period. I got home and I couldn't walk. I had to have physical therapy come to the house, and I have tons of stairs in my house, so I was kind of stuck upstairs. I was stuck in my room until I could do the stairs again. And I got cellulitis a bunch of times after that. There was a lot of hospitalizations. There was a lot of more surgeries to put a mesh in my belly. And of course I had to have an appendicitis because, that just happened.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. And then I got another rare disease, not as rare as NF, but a rare orthopedic disease in my hip of where the skin graft was.
Oh, wow.
So that took more surgeries, and the tumors grew back, and I had to get them taken out again. Whatever. I had a very, very complicated recovery, and it took years and years before I could feel like I'm not sick anymore with something.
Yeah. How did that test your faith?
Certainly did test my faith. I'm a person of faith. I'm an Orthodox Jewish woman, and I keep all the laws in the Torah. I try to do my best, which means I started out with a very strong faith, but this tested it. This was like, okay, I can get sick. I'm not going to get angry at God for making me get sick. It was a terrible disease, but I didn't die. I could have. I almost did, but I didn't die. And okay, but then everything that came afterwards, the orthopedic disease, and then all the cellulitis and all the hospitalizations, and I couldn't take care of my kids. Remember I said I had 4 small children?
Yes.
I couldn't take care of my children. I needed a nanny here. And like all the time, every day, like for years, I needed a babysitter or a nanny to help me take care of the kids. I just didn't have the energy. I couldn't stand up in the kitchen and make dinners, and I couldn't give them baths. And it was testing my faith. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a struggle because
taken
out of
your, I didn't know why God needed to do this to me, and why it was continuing. It was something that was, a lot of people on our list have continuing problems, and a lot of people on our list have healed and bounced back. And it's just very individual. There's times that I was definitely angry with God. Definitely angry with God. I write a blog. I've been writing a blog since the beginning of my NF.
Okay.
And I often put pictures on the blog, either stock pictures from the internet or something personal from me or whatever. And I can remember specifically writing a blog with a picture of a man with his fist shaking in the sky. I was angry. I was definitely angry. And if you remember in the beginning of when I started speaking, I said that we were thinking about another pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to go fix the hernia. And when I came out from after having NF, I couldn't have kids anymore.
Mm.
So it was really like, what is it you mean for me? Like, what, all I wanted to do was have another kid. Like, but I've come to a lot of realizations. I've come to almost, I guess you could call the answer to that, even though I don't think there is an answer for real. I feel like God was saying to me, I gave you 4 healthy, beautiful children. Mother them. And I'm saying that because I was busy as hell. Like before I had my hernia surgery, before I got sick,
Mm-hmm.
I had 2 very, very high powered careers, and I wasn't home very much.
Mm-hmm.
I was an orchestra musician in the city orchestra here in Beersheba, and I was a doula helping women have their babies,
Mm-hmm.
which could be 20, 25 hours at a time being with a woman, and being out of my house. And I needed babysitters for that too. I mean, my kids know a lot about babysitters. But I was really busy. I was either playing concerts or rehearsals or helping another family have their baby.
Mm-hmm.
And, I feel like I got the message really strong when God sort of said to me, mother these children. I'm lending these 4 souls to you, and you're too busy, so I'm going to make you stay at home. Kind of that was one of the messages maybe you could say I created for myself, or something that I learned from my talking with God.
So how have you taken that lesson to heart?
Well, 13 years ago, I became a stay-at-home mother. I had to quit my careers. I couldn't work anymore. I kept getting sick. Maybe that's why I kept getting sick, because
Mm-hmm.
God needed to make sure I was going to keep staying home,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Through all the babysitters and the nannies and everything, I was a stay-at-home mom, and they knew I was here all the time. They came up to my bedroom whenever they wanted. I was like a sitting duck.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do much,
Mm-hmm.
but I could read to them and I could do their homework with them from my bed. And they always knew I was home, and they always knew that I was the one giving the directions to the babysitter. And yeah, that I became a stay-at-home mom, and I thought that would never be me. I was always on the run.
Mm-hmm.
Always on the run. And I did everybody's laundry, and I did everybody's food preparation, and everything. Cleaned the whole house. I have a 260-meter house, which is very big. It's 4 levels. And I did everything. I have a great husband. He's a rock and a security, and he's a wonderful man. But I took on the role that I saw my mother take on, which was do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he grew up also in the same generation that I did, and his mother also was a do everything, and she was a stay-at-home mom. My mother worked, but his mother was a stay-at-home mother, so it wasn't natural for him to jump in and cook dinner some night, or to jump in and do the children's laundry or whatever. It only became natural. It didn't become natural. It only became a habit, and learning to know what to do after I got sick.
Mm. And so, are there any favorite meals of his that you like?
Oh, I like everything he cooks. I love
Good
his
answer.
lasagna. I love his lasagna.
Oh, wow.
Makes a really good one. No, he's a good cook. Thank God. Thank God. I don't know. We would be in the poorhouse from takeout food if he wasn't such a good cook, because I couldn't manage it. I just couldn't manage it.
Yeah.
And he
that,
was working too. He works during dinner times. He's
okay.
not back home from his work yet. So I was alone in the house, during dinner times with 4 hungry mouths to feed. Yeah, it was very complicated.
Yeah. What does he do for work?
He's an English teacher in a high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
And he
so,
also does he does editing and publishing work on the internet.
oh, okay. All right. And so, um, yeah, it is a hard lesson to learn when this is thrust upon you. But it's I'm very, I don't want to make this sound demeaning, but I'm very proud of you for you know bouncing back and taking this lesson and taking it to heart, because many people could take that take this situation and stick to the woe is me. I mean, once in a while we
Oh,
all
I
do
was
that.
there. I was there for a long time. Woe
Yeah.
is me, and being in the victim category. I constantly that's where I lived. I lived in the fact that I knew I was a victim. Um, and it was very, very hard to get out of that. I had to forgive the surgeon because in the end, it turned out to be a lot of I'm thinking in Hebrew, malpractice
Okay.
that got me into NF, got me into the coma and nearly killed me.
Mm.
It was not one mistake. It was like a domino effect of mistakes.
Oh, wow.
And we did wind up suing the hospital, and we did win a large settlement. Um, they fessed up to the mistakes, but took me a long time to stop being a victim and to forgive the surgeon so I could go on.
Yeah. No, I was going to ask what ultimately led you to take that step to stop being a victim.
I think I had to stop getting sick all the time. Every time I needed another surgery, or I was in the hospital for another cellulitis, or whatever it was, I felt a victim all over again, a victim to this surgeon who messed up my health. He basically stole from me my health. That's how I felt. I got healthy just 2 years ago. So I had a long stint of being very sick and in that victim mode, and living with my scars, and which were really, really horrendous. I mean, this skin graft that was all over the place, and I mean, you couldn't see anything with my clothes on. It's different than you because you had it in your hand. But yeah, it changed my whole body. I definitely felt like a victim until I got healthier.
And so now, what is life for you? I know you said you're a stay-at-home mom and you have a blog. Are those your two main outlets of energy, or are there other things that you're doing?
Well, just last January, I joined this sort of a like a job restructure and rehabilitation kind of program for people who lost their careers or couldn't work for a long period of time and were sick, like exactly from my situation. I mean, I tried to pick up my music again, but I couldn't get to the level that I needed to be at in order to make myself happy. In order to play the way I like to play, it would have taken a lot of work and whatever. I didn't go back to my old careers. I tried to many times. I tried to pick up my horn. I play French horn.
Okay.
Tried to pick up my horn many times and play back in orchestras. And I just couldn't get it to the level that I wanted it to be at. So I was saying last January, I joined this job rehabilitation thing, and I chose jewelry making with soldering and like from raw materials.
Okay.
From a sheet of silver, make a pendant and earrings that match, and that kind of thing.
Wow, that's cool.
So it's a lot to learn. It's a lot to learn, and I'm still, well, because of Corona, they closed it down for a while, and they just reopened it last month. So, so I'm still in the learning process, but it's a job too. Like when I'm finished with the learning course, then I'm going to stay there and make things. And they have a shop there. They sell everything that we make, and it's a good system. It's a very nice thing. That's what I'm doing now. And
do you get to design your work? I'm sorry to interrupt.
What's that?
Do you get to design your pieces, or
yes.
does someone say, hey, you have to make this?
No, that's why I chose that. I chose it because we design our pieces. There was also a ceramics one that you could do ceramics, but I mean, if you're looking at art ones, there's all different kinds of job retraining, obviously. Mm-hmm. There's engineering, there's all kinds of stuff, but I was looking at the artistic ones.
Okay.
And the ceramics was, you have to make what the orders are. If it means you have to make 25 matching plates, you make 25 matching plates. And that's, I didn't want to do that. Mm-hmm. So I chose the jewelry making because it's individual.
Okay. No, that's great where you're able to express yourself and have it be, something not only personally productive, but also financially productive.
Yeah. Yeah. That's and, as much as I said I pretty much stopped playing my horn. My other career before I got sick was being a doula, helping women have their babies. Mm-hmm. And I've just this past couple of weeks, I've recently made a decision to not go back to being a doula, but to teaching prenatal classes and helping with lactating women, helping them nurse their babies. I just decided I'm going to start going because my oldest son and his wife are pregnant, and I've been giving them prenatal courses.
Okay.
So yeah, and so it got me back into it. It got me really excited about this whole treasure trove of knowledge that I haven't been using. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go back to giving prenatal classes. I have to organize with the tax company, with the taxes to get my receipts, and there's a lot of stuff, red tape that I have to do to get started again. Mm-hmm. But I decided I'm going to do it.
That's fantastic. I was going to ask, what are your kids up to now?
My kids.
Yeah.
My kids are 21 and 20. And 17 and 14.
So not exactly kids anymore. They're
not so much.
Young adults. And so.
Yep.
So you said your oldest is married and expecting.
Yeah, and he's in the Israeli army.
Okay.
And his wife teaches at a young adult. I don't even know how to say it in English. It's like a preparation course for women to go into the army.
Okay. All right.
She's teaching there, and he's in the army. It's a mandatory draft here.
Yep. Well, that's great that that you're able to help them and then help yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so how about the others?
Okay. So my 20-year-old is he's autistic, mm-hmm. and it didn't go into the army because of the autism. Mm-hmm. And he's home right now. He's kind of between programs. We have to make some decisions with him about what he's going to do. But he's home, and he's been growing his hair long, and he looks like a freak. Great. He looks great. I love it. It. But So for right now, he's home, and he's not being a productive member of society. But he's between programs.
Okay.
He's a great kid. My 17-year-old is my daughter. I have 3 boys and a girl. My 17-year-old is my daughter, and she, it's Corona times now, so there's not that much, like she dances, and she signed up for a dance camp. Of course, that got canceled. Mm. And my son signed up for his sleepaway camp. My 14-year-old son signed up for his sleepaway camp, and that got canceled. Oh. And so everybody's home. Everybody's home. Just trying to make out what they can for their summers, and The two younger ones are going to a different school next year.
Okay.
If school opens.
However it opens, yeah.
However it opens, yeah. But they're home, and they're used to me having surgeries, and they're used to me, unfortunately, being sick up here in the bedroom. And the bedroom has become, my bedroom has become more of a general meeting place as well.
Okay.
Because I'm here so often, I can be found here a lot. So, but they're doing good. Everybody is doing their own thing, and they came through a very difficult childhood, and they have great heads on their shoulders. They're great kids.
That's great. Well, they definitely have a great role model, two great role models.
Yeah, thank God.
To look up to. And so
I was always afraid that they were going to grow up saying, well, my mother was sick. And, that would be their handicap. But they don't feel that way. They feel that I was there for them.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, against all odds.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I was just thinking that, yeah, for especially the 17 and 14-year-old, most of what they have known is you not being 100%. And
no,
so,
my 14-year-old never even saw me in a concert.
Wow.
He was a year and a half when I got sick. Okay. And then I had to leave the orchestra. Yeah, he doesn't even know me as a working mom.
So it's all kinds of new adventures for everyone, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
So, Sarah, if you were to give one piece of advice to someone, who's facing a difficult situation, maybe not as difficult as you had faced, but, some kind of struggle, what would you give them, or what would you offer them to help them see that the other side is there?
My biggest advice would say, give it time. Give it time, however much time it needs. We don't, if I stall in my speaking, it's because I have to translate in my head. Yeah. And when I speak only English, my English is lacking. And when I speak only Hebrew, I have to translate from English sometimes. But we don't make times. God makes the times. Like for a birth, it can be 2 hours or it can be 25 hours or more. We don't make these times. And this is what I tell people, is that you've got to give it time. I remember being in trauma therapy 2 months after I had NF, because I was very, very traumatized by the NF and some things that happened to me in the hospital. And so I went for this trauma therapy, and I said, it's been 2 months already and I'm still like not over this and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, listen, 2 months, that's nothing. You remember you were in a coma? Do you remember like you've gone through hell and back, and so to have patience for the process, however long the process is going to be, and to know intrinsically in your gut, to know that it will pass. If you've lived through it and you're already still alive and you've made it through all the surgeries and all the everything, just give it time and have a lot of patience, because only now, this is 13 years later, only now, 2 months ago, I had another surgery. I had my hip replaced. And that was also part of the NF problem and the orthopedic problem. And a year ago, last summer, I had a big reconstructive abdominal surgery. And it was only after the abdominal reconstruction that I started to feel like I'm getting my life back. Like I can do things. And I picked up my horn, and last year I played in an orchestra for a while, and I was trying to figure out what I want to do. And I felt more strength, internal strength for the first time in the 12 years. And I couldn't have told you that it was going to take 12 years. And that's the hard part. You don't know how long it's going to take.
No, you don't. No.
You know, there's people on our NF list who are new and, you know, or 2 years out or 5 years out or whatever, and they're going through what I went through. They're going through the hospitalizations and all the nuclear fallout problems from having NF.
Yeah.
And I just try to encourage people to breathe and rest and take your resting time and give it time. You just have to. There's no option.
Yeah.
Because we don't create the concept of time. God does. And it depends on who I'm talking to. I don't always talk about God.
Yeah. No, but you speak from your experience. And so,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that this lesson is not only poignant for NF survivors like ourselves, but everyone on this planet right now is dealing with a situation in which we ourselves only have personal control. We can't control what our neighbor does. We can't control what people in another state or another country do.
That's right.
So, just taking that time and taking a breath and resting, like you said, that is very strong and poignant advice.
Yeah, I mean, if resting is what God wants you to do, He's going to make it happen.
Yeah.
You know, whatever it takes to make it happen, He's going to make it happen.
Yeah.
My neighbor moved into the house next to me last year, and I told her a little bit of my story, and she said, well, she's working and she has her 5 kids and she's moving houses, and that, you know, she can't unpack everything, but she's trying to and take care of the kids and blah blah. And her life was just insane. With the type of working she was doing and moving houses and everything. And I told her, you know, you're going to have to rest. You're really going to have to rest because you're doing too much and something's going to suffer for it. And she's like, no, it'll be okay. But, you know, it'll be okay. The following week, she sprained her ankle. She couldn't walk. She said, Sarah, you're right. I have to sit and rest. So I always see it as, you know, if God wants you to rest, He's going to make you rest.
Well, that is great advice. And so if someone were to want to learn more about you, Sarah, or connect with you, how could they do that?
Well, my blog is called Life After NF. It's one word. Okay. And it's www.lifeafternf.blogspot.com.
Excellent.
And you can go in the archives and read about all the hard stuff. You know, I use my blog for the hard stuff, and it's very hard. It's not always easy reading. I don't write a lot about the kids. I don't write a lot about my cute dog. I don't write a lot about because I needed that as an outlet.
Yeah.
So the blog is the hard stuff.
Okay. And and how often do you contribute to the blog?
Now less and less. Like, now that I've gotten a lot stronger since my abdominal reconstruction surgery, I'm still getting stronger from the hip surgery. It still hurts and I'm still recovering from that. But now I'm writing like once a month, but I used to write once a week or twice a week up until about 6 months ago. And I find I need it less because I'm not suffering as much.
Yeah. Well, that's a great indication that you're writing less and less.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
If anybody wants to get in touch with me, I was just going to say, if anybody wants to get in touch with me in email, that's possible also. Okay. There's a link on my blog to my email, but I can also say what it is here.
It's up to you.
It's skash332@gmail.com.
Okay. Excellent. And one last question that my audience wants to know. What is your favorite dinosaur?
Oh, I meant to look up dinosaurs. What's that one called with the little arms and the big fat legs, and he can barely like reach his food? because his arms are so small?
Well, there is the Tyrannosaurus Rex, T-Rex.
Does he have little arms?
Yes, he has little tiny
I just
arms.
remember. I remember from Jurassic Park. I thought he was so cute.
Yeah. Well, he's actually a very ferocious hunter. So I'm not sure if you mean him or like is he a little guy or a big guy?
No, he was big.
Oh yeah, then T-Rex. All right.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
cool. All
No, I
right.
always felt sorry for him because his arms were too short for his body.
That is true. That is an interesting point. That you shouldn't be too scared of him because he has difficulties himself.
That's right.
He can't do
That's
pull-ups
right.
or clap. So
That's right.
that's why he's so angry he can't hug people. There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
So Sarah, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk with you. Thank you for sharing your story.
Been my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Definitely. Well, you have a great day.
Okay, Chris, you too. Thanks a lot.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Sarah. If you want to check out her blog, it's at lifeafternf.blogspot.com. And you can also find her on Facebook. If you want to catch up with me, you can find out what I have to offer as a speaker and coach at www.chrisdtgordon.com. You can also find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, as well as YouTube at Chris DT Gordon. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for joining me as always. And remember to pass on perfection and go for greatness.